Welcome to another episode of Holy Unapologetic. My name is Marcus. I'm here with my good friend Ace Kipton. How you doing today, Ace? What's new?
Dude, I'm doing so good. We just planned a brand new kink event with Orpheus Black, and so my world right now is just blowing up with some really sweet things.
That is exciting. I've been seeing you post about it. I'll make sure to reshare some of your stuff. Do you have a date for that yet?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. So it's going to be in October. We're kind of keeping the date secret. We have the venue secured, we have the date secured. But if people are actually interested in it, they have to join the wait list to get the early bird discount. And so that's on my Facebook account. You can reach out to me in a DM. I can definitely get you on that wait list and get you on our list for all the juicy details that are coming out very, very soon.
Exciting. Thank you for sharing with us. I am going to introduce our very special guest for today, comedian Nina Dicker. I was so fortunate I got to see her stand-up special. Just finished recording your first full special. Yes? Am I wording this correctly?
Yeah.
Excellent. So we'll be talking about that today. So such an amazing performance. You also have your book out. We will link it down below. Tangerine Vagina, True Stories of Childhood Misfortune and Meaningless Sex. Your special had the same name. Is that correct?
Yeah, I shortened it.
Shortened it? Okay, so, well, first and foremost, welcome, Nina. We'll start there. Thank you so much for being on the show.
I'm so excited to be here. Or am I allowed to mention that I've known you a long time?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Stunning.
Normally I want to start with that and be like, these are my besties, but I was like, I'm going to be professional. I'm going to say it the way that they're amazing adults too. But yes, we have known each other. We did community theater together back in the day.
I know. Can you believe it? Because
Yeah.
we're so serious and non-theatrical as people.
I know. How have we somehow still found audiences at this point?
I know. I think it's also funny to mention that the show that we did together was The Wiz.
Oh, yeah.
And so, as people can see, we're not necessarily like the prime options for The Wiz cast. But again, this was Connecticut.
Yeah. You do what you can. Yeah, it's if there's any shortage of shows, I don't know why. But you were an incredible Wicked Witch of the West. Don't nobody bring you no bad news. And not to brag, but I was one of 5 for the Yellow Brick Road. Was it 5? I think there were a lot of us.
I was also part of the Yellow Brick Road for some reason. Not really sure.
Really? Oh, for like other parts of it, right? So, okay, because that makes sense that the number...
Can't believe you didn't remember.
I think of being like one of your slave workers in the factory thing. So that's what sticks 100%. Out of my mind is, your big number.
I think I really enjoyed, like, as a 15-year-old, like, dealing, like, sitting on older men and... having a whip. That was really definitely so empowering to me.
There's a lot there.
There's so much to unpack, but we don't have time, guys. We don't have time. Yeah.
No,
the next one.
This is a good segue. We could talk about the ones too. But yeah, why don't you introduce for us? How would you kind of give the log line, the tagline for your special that you just finished recording?
Oh man, the log line.
Or just however, I mean, you don't have to make one up. I just how to.
I love how as soon as you say log line, my writer brain like panics. It's like, what's the log line? Pitch it in a line. And I'm like,
well,
no.
I just figured there was kind of like an advertising thing that you would,
Yeah, I'd say it's every woman's coming of age story except funnier.
I love that. We'll definitely get into it because you go into so many incredible stories and you get to a lot of deep stuff, but it's also hilarious throughout. So that's something I really wanted to dig in with you. One thing I did like though, as I'm going through your book, right out of the beginning here, you thank your mom for telling you how to tell a kick-ass story. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. I like to tell my mom whenever she disagrees with the comedy that I do, I like to remind her that this is all her fault. Just for, having me and teaching me to be a funny person. But I think what it is I feel like it's a solid amalgamation of things that are all because of her. All good things, by the way, in case anyone's like, oh no, what'd she do?
Sugar, spice.
Yeah, right. No, my mom and I are very close. But I think what it is my mom's side of the family is Italian. And so everyone is very like big in how they tell stories and like very... like if something happens, like something boring at the deli, like they'll make it into something crazy. They'll come home and they'll be like, guess what just happened to me at the deli? And we're talking with our hands and making it crazy and ad-libbing. And so that's more of like a family thing. But my mom specifically had all these crazy stories about her childhood, and we'd beg her to tell, because she'd tell like bedtime stories, but they were just like
Mhm.
life stories from what happened to her as a kid or as an adult. And we'd have certain stories that we really enjoyed. We'd be like, "Oh, tell this story when you were in art school and you fell down the stairs." Like it was, we loved that one. Or we'd be like, yeah, or we'd be like, "Tell the story of when you gave birth to Ava," which is our youngest sister. And she would tell all these stories. And the Ava birth one was the one that everyone really loved. It was so funny. And as I was getting older and like hearing this story over and over, because I think she had my youngest sister when I was about 8. And so I started listening to the story a little bit closer. And the gist of the story is she was supposed to give birth to my youngest sister at the hospital that she gave birth to all of us, which was New London, Connecticut. And they were doing a special that they'd never done before. And so when you gave birth as a, like, as the mom, you would get a steak and lobster dinner. I know, big deal, big deal. She was like,
Man.
"This is my last kid. I'm getting that steak and lobster dinner." And so around the time, maybe like, I think it was like a month before she was supposed to give birth, my brother had to get his tonsils out. And so we were at Yale, which is another hospital in Connecticut, but not New London.
Mm-mm.
And so she was going to visit my brother in the hospital, hanging out, and she went into labor. And she was like, "No, please, no." No, why? And so they, didn't really want her to give birth there, but the other hospital was like an hour and a half away with traffic. And something you need to know about our family is that our labor goes fast. It goes quick. And she was like, "There's no way I'm not giving birth in this hospital. I'm so sorry." And she was also trying to avoid telling them she was a lawyer, because she was like, "If I tell them I'm a lawyer, they're gonna kick me out. They're gonna make me get out of this hospital."
Why?
Yeah, and so they gave her something to, like they gave her some kind of medicine to slow down labor, or basically stop labor, to get her to the other hospital. Except it turned out she was allergic. So she wakes up. Yeah, she wakes up at like 3 in the morning. And she like can't breathe. She like kind of sees
No.
herself in the mirror, and she looks like, the Marshmallow Man in the
Yeah.
that movie with the
Hmm.
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what she said she looked like. And she
Oh.
said that my dad was there on the couch sleeping, and she's trying to call to him, but like nothing's coming out. She's like, "I am actively dying," and like pressing the button to get the nurse. And the nurse is on, they're going, "What do you need? What it can, ma'am, can you please tell me?" And she was like, eventually, it all happened very fast, but it felt very slow because she was like passing away. And it, as like slow motion, the doctor runs in with like an EpiPen. They figured it out and like, stabs her, and she's like, and then my dad doesn't wake up at all, by the way. And so she's telling this story. By the way, she did give birth. Everything was fine. She got mac and cheese for dinner. Very upsetting.
Mhm.
She was very upset. Um, but so she's telling this story, and at this point, I'm a little older, and I'm listening a little closer, and I'm like, "Oh," I was like, "Hey, mom, quick question. This story is not funny." I was like, "You actively almost died, and you didn't get steak and lobster for dinner." I was like, two very
It's a
sad things.
tragedy.
Yeah, I was like, "You almost died directly next to your husband, and you didn't get the meal that you wanted. I would be devastated. I'd be so upset."
Mhm.
And I was like, "How can you turn this into like a funny story that everyone enjoys?" And she looked at me so serious, and she was like, "Nina, if I cried and got upset about every single bad thing that happened in my life, I would never ever stop crying and being upset. So why wouldn't I just make it funny?" I was like, "Lorna." That stuck with me forever. And the other piece of advice that stuck with me forever was, a squished cupcake is still a cupcake. That was the other. I know. She's like, why would you take those are like the two things? She was like, I said so many cool things. Like I was just like making a stink at a party when I was in like first grade because I got the squished cupcake and she was like, it's still a cupcake. And I was like, it just like changed my brain chemistry forever. I was like, you're right.
She seems like she has a lot of really amazing mindsets.
She's like the smartest woman I've ever met in my entire life.
Oh, that's amazing. So
And
that it's not, yeah, I
yeah.
feel like the classic question is like, what makes a great story, or how do you know when something's going to make a great story? But really, the craft as a comedian is taking any amount of events and circumstances and turning it into a good story. And I can certainly love
Mhm.
that from the writer perspective. But do you have fun with that? Do you kind of see the challenge of like, okay, there's something here, but I'm gonna make it into a whole thing, and it's gonna be a
Yeah.
great finished thing? Because of course we see the final product of this hilarious joke. Do you enjoy all of that in the process?
Yeah, I think that it's like two spectrums because like on one end, and I've had people say this to me before, I like a lot of crazy stuff just like happens to me. I don't know what it is. I just attract like wild circumstances and everyone's like, "Why did these things happen to you always?" Or like, I don't know. I'm not really sure. So sometimes it's just like the outline of what happened is absolutely insane, and I'm like, this is perfect. This is gonna be a great
I
story.
have material.
Exactly. Or if something terrible happens to me, and it just so happens that it's crazy,
Mhm.
I'm like sobbing. I'm like, this is gonna be fantastic material.
Yeah.
But
Put
on
it
the
into
other
your art.
end, yeah, make it art, make it art. But on the other end, I feel like using more mundane things or things that people might not find funny there is the challenge of like how can I make this something that people will enjoy, like how can I say this because I can be funny, I know I can be funny, but like can I be funny with this like normal thing.
That's something I really loved in your book too. As I was reading it, I was like, there are of course plenty of great crazy stories, but there are also ones where I was like, oh my gosh, that same thing happened to me. This could have been describing me. But it was something so powerful about your special, and especially why I thought of having you on this I almost said venue. That's not really a good word for you. This
It's a
platform,
venue.
platform. We'll go with platform. Having you on this platform is because we talk about a lot of different things related to not only sex, but also like shame and healing from trauma and all these different things. And so, what I loved is just like, in a way, how deep you were able to go in your special, and yet it still felt like a comedy special. I mean, I think now we have some different versions of it. There was the Hannah Gadsby one that got pretty famous because it was like it got very intense and emotional, but also was comedy. So there are obviously different areas that can exist. But what I thought was interesting, we realized we have a common friend, someone that I work with and someone that you've worked with as well. When he talked about your comedy in our quick catch up, he was talking about it like it was this one woman show. And to me, that sounds like a totally different thing than the stand up special that I saw. So how does that phrasing resonate or not resonate with you in terms of what you do?
You know, it's so funny because I feel like I have like a really long theatrical background
Mm-hmm.
before I went into like comedy and TV and film. Um, and and when I was going into TV and film, before I went into comedy, everyone was like, don't tell them you did theater. They hate theater people. They don't like that." And so I got this like weird. I was like, no, I can't. Theater's bad. Theater's not. Theater's
Mm-hmm.
not real.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started to do stand up, which was also different from theater. Uh, and then I just had this like weird thing against calling it a one woman show because a one woman show is like a theatrical performance.
Mm-hmm.
And in my head, not every single, but there are a lot of one woman and one man shows that are just kind of like,
Yeah.
and like that's it. That's the show.
Yeah.
It's like I was birthed into this world and I was abused and then I drank and then I did drugs and then I
If
had a
I cried
terrible
every
time.
time something bad happened, yeah,
And I cried every time
then I'd
something
have a
bad
one woman
happened.
show.
And then I died. And like that's it. And I'm like, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah. And so I kind of like, I almost kind of bristle when I hear it for a couple of reasons too, but also because of this idea that like people are weird with like women in comedy where like I was thinking the other day about how like every trailer for a female comic is she goes there. She tells it like it is. And all they're really like, and then she'll talk about like, something totally mundane, you know? And so it's like this idea, like she's a woman and she's sharing opinions. And like I love the Amy Schumer joke where she's like, a guy could come up here and pull his dick out and people be like, he's a thinker, you know? Like, and so this idea of like, oh, well, you are talking about serious things, so let's make it a one woman show. It's theater. We need to like put it over in that danger zone in a way versus like, no, this is really funny. And we were laughing the entire time. But it also goes to all these other amazing places and talks about real stuff and serious stuff and heavy stuff too. So I just absolutely love your art. But I was curious if that like if you felt one way or the other about putting it in one bucket, you know, or if they're gonna have to.
That's fair. I think I was struggling so much with like categorizing it. And I kind of realized partway through, I was like, I don't really have to right now.
Yeah, you
Like, I
don't.
really don't. No one's asking me to do that. So I don't have to. I was just so upset. I was like, I don't know what to call it. Someone's like, okay, who cares? And I was like, you're right.
Does not matter
Um,
as much.
but I think I've stopped shying away from calling it a one woman show because I think there are there are aspects of it that are theatrical and I lean into that and that's fun
Mm-hmm.
for me. And there are aspects of it that are very like stand-up comedy forward and I lean into that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was worried about calling it a comedy special or like an hour
Mm-hmm.
because it's not entirely comedic. But I thought about like Bo Burnham and Daniel Sloss and
Yeah.
um, Hannah Gatsby, and like they also have done pieces that aren't entirely comedy, but it's called a comedy special. Like nobody argues with that. And then Mike Birbiglia. Mike Birbiglia does like one man shows that are also predominantly comedy, but like nobody argues with him and goes, "That's not a one man show. That's actually a comedy special."
Yeah.
Like no one's arguing. So I'm kind of like I felt comfortable when people were like, "Well, is it this or is it this?" I just was like, "It's actually both of them." I was like, "I'm so comfortable telling you that it's a mixture of both."
Yeah. And it's amazing too. I think the one woman show of it just shows like, wow, this is like a lot of work. Like I love at the end of the credits where it's like, oh yeah, directed, performed, and written by the comedian. Like that's crazy. That's a lot of material. And of course, it's this unique thing with comedy where you are having to like refine it over and over again. Something when we grabbed lunch, we were talking about is a little bit like it's like you're writing a script, but you're having an entire crowd of people editing every line one at a time, which is
Yeah.
crazy. Like I love writing, but I am very scared to show it to anyone ever. Like I can kind of keep it hidden in my little stash here, but like you are going out and you are just trying different things and refining and editing. And how do you like that process? Because I think that sounds like probably the hardest part of being a comedian is just having to really put yourself out there all the time. But
Yeah.
that just seems like, yeah, that's the grind. You just get your reps in essentially.
Yeah, it's hard to get used to it. And also I just wanted to pop in and say, even though I did write and perform the whole thing, I did end up having a director who is not me. Because I realized I thought I was like, I could direct it. And then I realized very quickly, no, I can't. I was like, what? So my director was Liam Tully, who's also a fantastic writer. If anybody's looking for a writer or a lyricist or just a copy editor or like anybody who deals with words, he's fantastic and jokes.
Awesome.
He's on top of it at all times. But back to me. Uh, Fuck, what was the question?
Just like the putting in the reps as a comedian. How do you? Yeah, I just feel
Yes.
like that would be the
Okay,
the thing that
yes.
probably dissuades the most people. Like, oh yeah, I want to do comedy. It's like, oh, you just have to go and try and risk bombing and all of kind of the classic things with that over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
getting used to failing is part of comedy. Like you have to not just get comfortable with bombing, but you have to enjoy it. Because if
Mm,
you don't enjoy it, it's going to be a terrible experience for you. And it's you just have to kind of rewire because as someone who grew up as a gifted kid and also a burnt out adult, it's tough because you want to be immediately good at
mm,
everything. It's really tough to understand that like failing is part of the thing. And so when it comes to like being a woman and being a comedian, um, you have to understand that you can still learn from the bombs. Like the bombs are good because it's like you have to figure out why it bombed. Because perhaps what you've written is actually very good, but you've done it in front of an audience that was not going to like it. You know what I mean? Because all audiences are different. And the places you go, are you in a liberal place? Are you in a conservative place? Did you do a liberal joke in a conservative place? Is that perhaps
Mm-hmm.
why they didn't like it? Is there a way to rewrite the joke so that both liberals and conservatives will enjoy it, whether it's against their will or not? Like, is there a way that you can do that? Like, it's such a learning experience. And then perhaps you bombed because it's not well written. Perhaps you need
Mm.
to rephrase it. Or something that people don't think about, perhaps you don't need to rewrite it, but you needed to say it differently.
Sure.
Right. Like there's a comedian called Isabel Hagen, and she performs comedy and plays the viola. And she posted this TikTok forever ago, like when she, around the time when she first started going viral. There was a joke that she did. I can't remember the specific joke, but it was something about like being depressed, but it was hilarious and it went viral on TikTok, like got millions and millions of views. And then maybe a week or two later, she posted a compilation of her doing that exact same joke in front of, I want to say like 10 different audiences.
What?
And each one, she emphasized a different word or she said it slightly happier or slightly sadder. And every single audience reaction was different because if she
Wow.
was too sad, the audience didn't want to laugh. If
Uh-huh.
she was too happy, they didn't believe her.
Mm.
And like depending on the word that she emphasized, it would or wouldn't get a laugh. It's like it comes down to like the little things sometimes. Like sometimes if you don't say it right, the audience like you'll lose them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like just the most minute detail.
Yeah, I love when any artist talks about their craft with that level of specificity. Like Nikki Glazer was doing a breakdown after the Golden Globes, and she's like, "Yeah, there's this one joke where I said after instead of during." Like, I love that kind of thing. But it's
Mhm.
also tough because it's live, and so you can't get too in your head about that stuff. And so that's something I think would also be kind of hard about the stand up is like you got to just go with the flow of it and make it seem natural. Because like with any art, if you're amazing at it, we think it looks easy, but really you're processing so many different things. And we connected on this too because I give tours, and every tour is different based on reading your group and everything. But it's infinitely less personal because I'm just reciting someone else's information. But that seems like it would be another hard part of it. Is just people don't realize how many other things you're processing in the moment that you're just acting like you're saying this off the cuff. But
Mhm.
yeah, you have to have that specificity and also be relaxed enough to pivot. So
Yeah.
it's just amazing.
I think it was also tough, like learning because I'm big into like storytelling comedy. I love telling a story.
Mhm.
I also write jokes and I do more jokey bits, but I really thrive on telling a story. And it was tough in the beginning when I was only getting like 5 minute spots. Which here's the thing: if you're a good comedian, you can do 5 minutes and crush. But when I was just starting out, like I wasn't as good, so it was like harder to kind of like figure out like perhaps like what to cut out or what to skip over. And so sometimes when the audience was laughing too much because I was super funny, I'd lose more time than I expected. And so I was on stage trying to speak through what I had written, but also like skipping over. I'm like, how can I shorten this in a way where it still makes any sense?
Yeah.
And so that's like, it's like, I don't know how to describe it sometimes, like being on stage speaking words but thinking different words. Crazy.
Yeah.
Bonkers.
I got one of these like DJ boards for funsies, and like I'll sometimes like mix songs together if I can. It's really hard. So like I don't think we should
Really
ever
hard.
make fun of DJs. But there's a whole thing that I haven't even figured out yet where you put the headphones in and there's something different playing while you're listening to the cue that you're setting up with the next song. Like I can't even. So it just sounds like that to me. It makes me think of it.
Yeah, it's basically that.
But I guess at the heart of this, what I really want to talk about is how you get to a place of being able to joke about these heavy things. Because you talk about a lot of really heavy topics in your special, things that are heartbreaking that have happened to you. How do you get to that point in your healing where not only are you able to, I guess, I don't want to even say be okay with the events, but be for that phrasing, be okay with them enough to then bring them to the world and talk about them, and then let us be entertained by a terrible experience. What is that journey like, and any tips for other people in kind of their healing journeys? This is some big stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a combination of I even when I'm not writing something funny, just writing about something that happened that's traumatic is helpful to me. Not just writing it also, but sometimes like speaking it aloud to a friend, and also recording it. Because sometimes I'm like, can I just speak something to you and also record it at the same time? And they're like, yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll record the conversation and kind of feel like the flow of things. Um, and sometimes it really helps me heal to see if I can like what kind of jokes I can write about something depending on how fresh it is.
Yeah.
And also therapy.
Yeah. There you go.
Therapy is a big one. I was in therapy as a kid, and then I got back into therapy as an adult. But I remember I took Michael Jamin's writing course, which
Yes. Yeah.
is
We were talking about that. We both have done that course. Yeah.
fantastic, fantastic course. We both
Mm-hmm.
love it. I just spoke for you. We both love it.
No, we do. I just put it on the other day. I was like, oh yeah, we were talking about this.
Yes, yes. I love his course. But in one of his videos, maybe in a few of his videos, he's like, yeah, therapy makes you a better writer. You have to go to therapy if you want to be a better
Yeah.
writer. And I'm like, yes, Michael. Tell him.
Yeah. It
I was
is.
like, okay, I'm crushing it then.
Mhm. Well, yeah, but I could certainly understand that. I mean, I had a few years after I left the corporate world where I didn't really have to work, and I was like, okay, now I'm going to make up on all the creative stuff I didn't do when I was working for the man, and I just like didn't write. And I was like, I got the computer, I got the Michael Jamin course, why am I not right? I got the keyboard with the, it's like I your heart has to be ready to do it, and it's a terrifying thing. But yeah, just having all the other things lined up doesn't suddenly make it happen. But um,
Exactly.
yeah, and that's good. It's good to hear your perspective too, because I feel like that joke of like, oh, you're a comedian if you're depressed, or if you like haven't actually like, I guess, worked through things or whatever. But this seems like its own therapy, and I could totally relate too. I feel like I wrote a lot of characters and things that I've written based on things that have happened to me, but I'm still too scared to share it. So I just have so much admiration for you putting your stories out there. And I would imagine you get a lot of people that come up to you and are grateful for that level of honesty. Is that fair?
Oh yeah. Yeah, 100%. I think it was really hard to because it took me a while to write this piece because it's like so personal but it also involves people who aren't me, and that was kind of scary to me. And I don't know if anyone is listening to this and read the last chapter of my book and then also saw the special, or saw the special and then bought the book and then read the last chapter, they'd notice it is extremely different. I Because the last chapter is the chapter on the abusive relationship and the pregnancy scare that I had. And in the book, I wrote it in, I want to say like 2020 during the pandemic because I was bored. And I wasn't ready to be honest with anybody about what had happened. And so I created this not like fake narrative, but I kind of just like didn't say a lot of what happened and like skipped over a lot of things and put it in the book, and I still made it funny. I
Mm-hmm.
crushed it. But I was just not comfortable doing that. And so when I started writing this show, I I kind of kept with what I'd put in the book, for continuity. And the people I was working with on the show were like, hey, because good friends of mine who'd known me for a long time. And they were like, hey, so like, they were like, I can't really put a finger on it, but it feels like this part isn't honest. And I was like, what? And they were like, yeah, it's just like, they were like, I don't know why, but it just doesn't, there's like not, things not adding up. And it's like, and like for some reason you're feeling, it feels like you're blocked and like it feels like there's a wall up. And like, yeah, we don't know why that is. And I was like, yeah, it definitely is probably not because I have a wall up. It's probably
That's
probably not at
crazy.
all. It's so wild that you would think that. And so eventually I, broke down and I told him the truth. And I also, that's when I started therapy again. And I was like, maybe I'm not over this.
Yeah.
And worked through that. And so as I was working through it in therapy and with other people and getting more comfortable, like speaking about it, when I actually finally started telling the truth, people were like, hey, so like, this is really important. This is, perhaps this hasn't happened exactly as stated to a lot of women, but what you are speaking about and what you like, the feelings that you're doing comedy on are so extremely universal, and like it needs to be heard. It needs, like, people need to hear this is really important, especially after Roe v. Wade got abolished. I was like, I was just sitting there so sad. And part of me was like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. And the other part of me was like, man, this is going to make my special blow up.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, wow, this is really going to support my art.
When God closes one door, women are just expected to kind of be quiet and not share their struggles and their stories. And so there are so many amazing of those elements in your special, and that I'm so glad are getting out there, because there are probably plenty of men that are like, oh, I had no idea. It's so important. It's so important to share that.
I agree with that.
I got a question for you.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So I would love to hear some of your favorite content. Like, do you have a couple one-liners that you're like, ooh, this one always gets the crowd going? Like, you got anything that comes to mind?
Oh man. Of course. I mean, like, it's tough. I don't really do one-liners. Here's the thing, I wish that I could. I think it takes so much talent to write one-liners, but things that come to mind.
And you can take a few minutes if you want to kind of lead us into a bit and give it a go. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely, when I was talking about learning what jokes to do in front of certain audiences, there's definitely one joke that crushes at hookah bars and in front of mixed crowds, but definitely not in front of predominantly white crowds. And I'd say this is predominantly a white crowd, so I'm not sure if I can do it. But I'll do it anyways. I'm doing it. I'm like, not. It's like 10:30 a.m. I don't do comedy at 10:30 in the morning. Um, I post a lot of videos talking about my body and my sexuality, and so I get a lot of comments from people calling me a slut, which fair, but I prefer to think of myself as a very competitive bisexual. I do have a pretty high body count. I have had sexual intercourse with many people. My body count is currently that of Hurricane Katrina. You could fill the Superdome with the amount of people that I've hooked up with. And like Hurricane Katrina, my body count has predominantly affected low-income people of color. George Bush and I have nothing in common besides our very unfortunate last names. That one, everybody loves except the Silver Lake crowd, which is basically like the Brooklyn of LA.
Gotcha.
They hate it. What else? I feel like I have some good ones. I had this is a joke that I do about a roommate who was on meth and tried to kill me. I know, so fun. There was
Classic.
I had
Tale as old as time.
classic. It's happened at everybody's LA.
It's a cliche at this point.
I know. It's like how's airline food? It's like we've all heard it. I do. God, how do I start this out? Oh, A roommate of mine recently woke me up at 5 a.m. on Saturday morning on meth trying to kill me. And which like is crazy because he only does meth on special occasions. So this doesn't happen often. And I think what I'm more upset about is the fact that he woke me up at 5 a.m. on a Saturday at the literal crack of dawn. And and honestly, I think he was just confused, um, because I've also tried to kill myself, and I probably just forgot to tell him it wasn't like a team sport. And and so I think there's like more to the joke, but the one that everybody loves is I like to tell people that I got myself into a methy situation. It's my favorite one. That was actually, I think that was the first joke I wrote after that happened. And and as this situation is happening, like as he is actively trying to break into my room to like kill me, uh, I'm like recording it, like recording the threats being said. Like eventually I had to stop recording, call 911, but I'm like recording it, and into the phone, I'll have to find it, but into the phone I whisper, eventually this is gonna be really funny. As I'm like sobbing, so scared. I was like,
Yeah.
this is gonna be fantastic content.
Oh my gosh. A healthy mindset until you forget to call the police when you need
Yeah,
to.
right. I was like, if I live, this is gonna be great. Like,
I love the methy situation. Do you have jokes like that where I must just feel really good if you're like, I don't know if this is everyone's bag, but it makes me really happy. Like do you feel like you can stay true with those, and then it's gotta of course feel good when people really like it.
oh yeah, yeah. When people like it, that's great. When people don't like it, eventually I'm like, hey, just so you know, I am gonna finish this bit, whether you
Yeah,
laugh or not.
too bad.
I'm gonna keep going. The
Yeah.
bit goes
Because
more.
yeah, because another thing we talked about is like we all kind of start out as imitations of the people we love the most in whatever field, and then eventually you start to kind of find your own voice. So, what are some indicators for you when you feel like, okay, this is starting to kind of be my special thing versus, oh, I'm doing a really good job of what this is supposed to look like?
I think I think I've like part of me has always wanted to be like the chill comic. Like, I just say stuff and it's just like
Mm-hmm.
funny, like so chill. But I'm not. I've never been the chill comic. That's just not who I am as a person. And so I think as soon as I start to like have like facial expressions and like and do like certain moves, because when I'm actually telling someone a story and being funny, I'm not thinking about being funny. I just exist funnily.
Mm-hmm. That's probably your flow state.
Exactly. And so I'll just be doing certain moves. Like sometimes I'll be like, um, I'll be telling someone what some idiot said at like a restaurant, and I'll be like, and then he was like, and I'll like do like a pose and a voice, and like that's just naturally what I do. That's how I say things. That's how I perform things. And so as soon as I start to get like these little moves and voices and like act it out, that's when I start to feel like, okay, like this is very much a me thing. Like this is how I'm doing it. Like it's being established.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's your secret sauce. I love that.
it's my secret
It's
sauce.
I'll have to tell you this offline because I remember one time that someone from our same theater group made fun of me after I did like a whole bit, and then they were like, "Wow, you just did like a whole bit," and I was like, "Girl."
Yeah,
So, anyways, I'll
I
have to
did.
talk crap about that, but it's like because when you're younger, that stuff can be so deflating. But what I love about it, and it's something I really struggle with, is this idea of taking up space. Like I just remember, and I was thinking about it with what you were describing earlier too, of your family being storytellers. Like I remember one time my uncle was telling a story and he literally stopped to make the sound effect for a stick going through the air. And I was like, whoa, you can do
Yeah.
that? Like I felt so much pressure, especially being raised female, to just take up as little space as possible physically,
Mm.
socially, like air, breathing, all of that. And it was really hard for me to feel like I had the confidence to even tell a whole story. Like I always feel this pressure to like say something perfectly as succinctly as possible, only the necessary information. Like I even
Mhm.
get very insecure if I feel like my comments on here are rambling or anything like that. Like I'll be more tough in the edit and be like, let's just cut out everything I said, you know. And it's just, but it ties back to that same thing of feeling like people don't really are interested in what I have to say or whatever. And so I just love the really taking the time to do something theatrical and sharing a story, let alone sharing such an important personal story. But I'm just so glad that you have that, and that the patriarchy didn't get you down on that front.
You know, it's so funny. We talked about this recently, but when I was growing up, I feel like I had kind of had like a multitude of like not like personalities, but ways of existing around certain groups of
Sure.
people.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people, especially as kids, deal with that. But I think it's so funny because you're right. Like the patriarchy really didn't get to me, but it tried. Like it definitely tried.
Yeah.
Uh, and like like the people pleasing thing, like that's very uh, female centered, but also not like entirely a female experience.
Sure.
Um, but I think what it was is from a young age, because I was with, hanging out with my mom's family a lot, you are not going to speak unless you fight to get into the conversation. Like we're all like, we
Mm.
talk and we are loud. And like,
Mhm.
if you want a spot in this conversation, you're going to have to interrupt. You're going to have to be exciting. People are going to want to
Mhm.
have to listen to you. And so
Mm.
it's like, you gotta be able to enter that conversation hard. It's
Mhm.
like, it's like double dutch. Like you
Yeah,
got to be able to jump in and
jumping in the
handle
deep
your
end.
own. Yeah,
Yeah,
like exactly.
I love that.
Um,
Double
and
dutch.
so that was very much what I grew up with. And then, I had certain groups of friends that were more religion focused and had certain ideals that they believed that I should stick to. And so when I was with them, not at all times, but like at certain times, I'd have to like kind of like make myself someone else. And like eventually, as soon as I started breaking off in all these different people, I just like didn't know who I was anymore. And I was like, what? Like who am I? Because I'm not this, I'm not that. And like I'm sure certain aspects of these things, but like I don't like I have no idea. And then that's, the abusive relationship because they always go for someone who's vulnerable. And I didn't know who I was. So I was like, perfect. This is great. like,
Just
like
want
this
to
guy
get
can just tell me
identity.
who I am.
Yeah.
That's so convenient. Uh, but yeah, that's kind of like, that's what happens. And I feel like as a kid, I heard adults say this so often, like eventually you do have to find yourself. You have to find who you are. And I was like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, they're right.
Hmm. But it makes sense. I mean, you just kind of survive in the groups that you're in, and that can be, of course, limited growing up in a small town or whatever it might be. But yeah, it's
Mhm.
like the great challenge of our lives is to really find out who we are, and it's not easy because I still feel like it's so recent for me of just kind of finally being like, I don't want to be a more real person here, and then a more real person there, and then like fake person here, and very limited version of a person here, and it just felt
Mhm.
like all of these different masks, and I didn't want to. And that tied to, we talked about this a little bit too, but my own substance abuse, it kind of felt like alcohol was suddenly me taking off all the masks and just being, and it was such a relief. And it's like, okay, well, I can't have that be the case and then go back to like being miserable. I'm not going to be able to, be healthy in my life. So it's really important work, but it's really, really hard because we want to make everybody happy, sort of, especially if you tie back to that people pleasery part. And I certainly have with the pastor's kid thing of being a performer and being on and being
Mhm.
whatever every other adult in the room needs me to be at the moment. So yeah, it's not easy work, but it's worth it. And very grateful for what we get to see of you and how much you share of us from your special. I think that makes it all the more
Stop.
special. So, because you are also a theater kid and you are also a wonderful singer, you talk about how you then ended up in comedy. So, I'm curious what makes that sticky for you. Because, of course, you can also go on to go back to doing theater if you like. I will allow it. But what, I guess, in terms of
Hold on.
what helped,
That was wait,
what helped that be?
that was so like perfectly white man of you.
Yeah,
You're
I will.
you're in it now. You're
Yes,
doing
exactly.
great.
Yeah, it happens quick. It is a slippery slope. No, but yeah, I'm just curious. Being someone who's talented in so many different ways, what made it be like, oh, okay, yep, this is the track that I'm on? Because I think I tend to be kind of immobilized with a lot of different interests, and so I have a lot of admiration for that. So, what helped you realize that, like, oh, I like this even more than movies, TV, theater?
Yeah. I mean, I think what it was is I graduated theater school, which I would totally do again. It was I learned a lot. I made the best of friends, some fantastic people. I got the diploma in my hand, and I was like, I don't want this. And
I just read that chapter in your book. It's like, what am I doing
yeah, I
with
was like,
this?
damn.
Whoopsies.
No, I was like, oh no,
Do not need.
don't need it. Uh, but while I was in school, I realized that film and TV was a lot more accessible than I thought that it was. Because I was like, that's what rich people do. And then I was like, wait, poor people can do it too. That's insane.
Lisa, talk some more.
Exactly. And so I moved to New York and I started doing TV and film, did like extra work and trying out for shorts and such. And I was loving it. It felt more genuine to me just because I love a good micro expression and macro expression, as I'm sure you could tell. Uh, but then the pandemic hit and I, had to quarantine with the person I was with at the time. And we were in like New Hampshire in the middle of, not nowhere, but like we were on some large grounds, and so there was no filming happening
Mhm,
in New Hampshire.
mhm.
And the closest place I was New York, and they weren't doing any filming
Yeah,
clearly.
definitely.
And I didn't know anyone anywhere else, and so I kind of was like stuck, and I didn't really know what to do. And I got into contact with a gentleman named Mark Schoenfeld. He was like managing a friend of mine and he was giving out advice. And I was talking about wanting to do more TV and film and be an actress. And he was like, okay, well, you can't just be an actress anymore. You have
Mm,
to do other things. Like, what do you do?
multi-hyphenate.
Exactly. And I was like, well, I tell a lot of funny stories. And he was like, you've done stand up comedy. And I was like, no. And he was like, okay, well, now's not really a good time to do stand up comedy. He was like, you could
Well,
try it on Zoom. Yeah. And I was like, I'd rather die.
yeah.
And, and he was like, well, what else do you do? And I was like, well, I've written a few funny things. He was like, oh, you're a writer. And I was like, no. And he was like, but you've written scenes and shorts. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, but you're not a writer. I was like, okay, I can see where the confusion is. And so I just started writing all these funny stories down. And I was like, oh, wait, these are really good. And I published the book and I still waited. Because all my friends were like, why aren't you doing stand up? And I was like, I'm not on any antidepressants yet. I don't think I should. And then I moved to Los Angeles on a whim. And I told someone, I was like, yeah, like people keep saying I should do stand up comedy. And they were like, yeah, you should. Like, just sign up for an open mic. Just go. And so I was so nervous. I like signed up for an open mic and I went with a friend. And I was like, this is going to be bad. This is going to be terrible. Nobody's going to laugh. And I went up and I told my story and I got so many laughs. In my memory, I crushed. I feel like if I were to look back at the video, it'd be okay. It'd be
They're
fine.
throwing flowers up at the stage.
Yeah, like here's the thing. I can't totally remember, but like even if I looked back at the video and I got one laugh, I was up on that stage like I'm killing it.
You got a taste. The
Like as soon as I
high.
got a laugh from an audience, I was like with like my own words. That was the thing because I'd done comedies
Sure.
like in theater before and I
Mhm.
gotten laughs
It
and I
feels good.
loved it. It feels
Mhm.
so good. But it wasn't my words. I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, of course they're gonna laugh. What I'm saying is funny. And I know it's funny because a professional writer wrote it.
Mhm.
But as soon as I started getting laughs from my own writing, I was like, I can I can do that. And also I saw a lot of men doing a worse job. And I was like, well, if they're doing it, I'm gonna do it.
The bar is low.
Yeah. And then bars on the ground.
So how do you feel navigating those spaces? Are you kind of is it chill just being in a male dominated field? Do you kind of keep to yourself?
No,
Are they okay?
it kind of depends because it is such a big field in Los
Yeah.
Angeles, especially. it's kind of just learning learning where to go and learning who is, I don't want to say like a safe space, but like learning who is respectful.
Yeah.
Like I recently did a show in Hawthorne with Cosmic Comedy, and I'm doing a show with them in Long Beach. I'd never done a show with them before, and I went to the Hawthorne show, and I was the only woman on the lineup, and the rest of it was like older guys, and I was a little bit nervous because I was like, even though I just did my hour and I'm feeling really good, I was like, I don't know, like sometimes this can be like really weird, and like guys can be really judgmental and like acting kind of strange. And it was so wholesome. Like all the guys were so kind, and they were like, a lot of them were dads,
Uh,
and they were kind of like treating me like I was like their kid's best friend. And like I got off the stage, and all of them were like, "You were so good, you crushed." I was like, "I just want you to give me
oh.
like a gold star."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Dad."
Yeah.
um, and so that was really nice. But it's also like learning, like there's certain open mics that I've gone to before where I don't get any laughs. And it's not because what I'm doing is bad, it's because nobody's listening to me. And it's, it's
Interesting.
usually predominantly dudes
Mhm.
that are just kind of like focused on their own stuff, which is like, that's not always because they're dudes. It's sometimes because like they're just being dumb, like focusing on their own stuff. And then they're like, why is nobody laughing? I'm like, because you didn't laugh at anything. It's your fault. um,
Mm.
but no, yeah, I've definitely experienced that thing where like some guy's like, hey, can I put you on my show? And I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. And instead of asking me for like a headshot, they'll pick like some like thirst trap picture that I posted on Instagram. And I'm like, just so you know, my comedy's not hot. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not hot girl comedy. I'm like autistic girl comedy. Like, I don't, like, people are going to be disappointed. Or, like you mentioned at the beginning, I'll get a lot of I'll like go to a show. It'll be a great show. And I'll be like, hey, who's the booker? And they'll point to some guy. I'll go up and I'm gonna introduce myself and I'll be like, hey, this was a fantastic show. Um, I'd love to get on your next lineup. And they go, you're a comedian? And I'm like, yep. And they're like, really? And I'm like, uh-huh.
But you have long hair.
Yeah, but you're like a girl? I'm like, I'm gonna die. I
These people
know.
are in charge of things.
I know, like, oh my God,
Amazing.
this is ridiculous. But I feel like the better you get and the more people you meet at like the level that you get to, it's kind of like everybody, not everybody, but most people realize like you just have to respect everyone because you never know who is gonna like blow up or like
Yeah.
get really good. Because like maybe someone's really bad at the start, but like you never know who's gonna do the work to actually get good.
It's so much work, even just to get to that point. I
Exactly.
saw a writer. She was the writer of Eat, Pray, Love. I'm blanking on her name, but I saw her at a talk once, and she made such a good point when she saw this sign up for a marathon that was like, DNF, did not finish, did not finish, did not finish. And she was just thinking, like, how many people never start, let alone never start training? Like, people that show up at a marathon have worked so hard for so long.
Hmm.
And so I think stand up is one of those things that's just a great example of the artistic process because it looks so fun and it is got to be so hard. Like, what is everyone's biggest fear is public speaking, right? And you're literally having to go
Yeah,
out with your own material and hope that they laugh. Like, I can't think of anything scarier. So I might have to try it once
me
just
neither.
because I think I'm too scared to try it. But yeah, I would think that once you get to a certain point, it's like there is that mutual respect because it's like I know what you would have had to do to get to this point. So I'm glad you've had some good community there.
There's definitely the mutual respect, but I feel like what people don't talk about as often and what like never really goes away is this weird roller coaster. And I don't know if any men experience this, but I know for sure the women experience this where like every I think the timeline depends more on if you're new or not, but like it's a roller coaster. It's a very like up and down thing. Like you'll be on an upswing, and like even if you're still doing good, there's a downswing
Mm.
where you're like, I'm actually not funny, nobody likes me, I should quit. it could come because you bombed, it could come out of nowhere, it could come at any moment.
Yeah.
And like I have a friend going on the downswing right now, and she is one of the funniest people I know. And I called her and I was like, "Hey, stop being an idiot."
Yeah.
I'm like, "I know what's happening and it's dumb. Shut up." um,
That's tough
but
too, because if you're doing the right thing and you're in the right rooms, you're going to be surrounded by other people doing probably like just what you're doing. Not exactly, of course, because everyone's unique, but like it's a good sign if you're surrounded by other great comedians, and that could very quickly make you feel like, like I had that thought once when I
yeah,
was, because we're around all these like rich people around here in LA, like all these marinas, and I was thinking like, man, if I had a boat out here, that'd be so amazing. I'd be in such a high echelon, and I would just be surrounded by all the people with bigger boats. Like they would be
yes,
like all these multi-million dollar. Like I would just be like, wow, they got a bigger boat. Like that, but how much does it take to even get to the point where like, yeah, I've got to. Like, so I just that kind of relativity is so interesting, and so you have to, as any kind of creative, find the amount of comparison that keeps you motivated and not completely devastated, because it's just you could, I mean, there are plenty of people that have accomplished a lot of great things and can have very low self-esteem, and you're like, how do you have low self-esteem? But it's all just
yeah,
therapy, right? Your inner thing. But you want to be
exactly.
around amazing comedians if you want to be an amazing
Mhm.
comedian, and that could also very easily make you feel like, wow, what am I even doing here,
It's also hard, like when you do get on a show with like some fantastic comedians who've been doing it forever, even if you do really well, even if you hit like your personal record of laughs, sometimes, especially not sometimes, most of the time, if you're on a show with really fantastic comedians, you will not have been the best one on the
Mm-hmm.
lineup. You will not have gotten the most laughs. And that can be really hard sometimes to be like, damn, like I'm not the best one here. That's really hard to deal with. But it's also like, yeah, but you can learn from that.
Mm-hmm.
Like when
You're
I
in the
was in
right room.
school, exactly. When I was in school, I never wanted to be the best one because I was like, what am I going to learn here?
Mm.
Because if I'm the best at this, like, why am I in this class? Like, what am I doing? And so when I'm on a show, it's like, I don't always want to be the best one at the show. I want to be able to learn from my peers. I want to be able
Yeah.
to learn something new here. I don't just want to get laughs and then fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
I want to figure something out. I want to learn something.
Yeah. What's
Yeah.
like a little something you learned from someone else? You don't have to like name them or anything, but what are some like kind of nuggets where you're like, "Ooh, let me fold that into my recipe."
Hmm. That's a good question. I think pinpointing like something I've learned from another comedian is tough because sometimes I feel like it's not just like one comedian, it's like a multitude of comedians or so. Like if I keep seeing it, I start to notice a pattern.
Mm.
Um, and I think what happened early on, I noticed this um, because of my theatrical background. I was raised with the fourth wall. So like
Yeah.
yeah, so like you don't like when you're doing a show in a theater, you don't look at the audience. That's like big no no, big no no. And so I just kept performing all of my comedy to the back wall, and people were like, "What is she looking at?" Like so confused. And so I would continually see some fantastic comedians looking at audience members, not even, not doing crowd work per se, but just looking at them, just connecting with them. And I saw I did a cold open for a show that Kevin Hart was on, and he wasn't officially on it. He just like popped in as a surprise, and he was working on. I think he had like 20 minutes that he was working on. He told everyone, "Hey, I'm working on this. Just getting back into the game. Don't record." And so the people recording the show shut off the cameras, and it was like a 250 seat place, and he's doing his comedy, and then he calls somebody out in like the second row with their phone, just like like nestled like
Yeah.
in
Oh,
in
sure.
their
Yeah.
lap.
You ain't
Yeah,
slick.
yeah, and he's like, "I told you, no recording. Put that away." And in my head I was like, there are 250 people in here, and like, yeah, I was in the second row, but like I was like, I would have never noticed that.
Oh,
I would have
interesting.
never noticed that because I'm like, don't want to look at people. I was like, that's like, he was like working on material, but he was locked in with
Yeah.
the audience.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have to start noticing things.
Hmm.
Like I
It's
have
scary.
to pay attention. That's tough. I feel like as a woman though, I'd be really good at it. It's almost like, you know what it reminds me of? Like when you're walking alone at night and you're acting all casual, but you're like really like, where are my exits? Who's behind me? Like
Yeah.
paying attention. I'm like, oh,
Keys.
it's that. It's
Yeah.
basically that.
Hypervigilance.
Hypervigilant. Yeah, duh.
Trauma informed. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
We always tell people not to film our tours, and people still do it, and I hate it. But they're not subtle about it at all. But it's like the second I have someone like holding a phone up to my face, I lose all of my train of thought. It's like,
Yeah.
drives me crazy. But yeah, they're not subtle about it. Um, but yeah, that's a lot of people.
I know. I'm just like, how did you see that? And I think he
Mm,
caught someone else as well. I was like, that's crazy. I was so impressed. I was
yeah.
like, the heck?
But I'm glad you brought up the 29th, right? You're going to be in Long Beach?
Yes, I'm going to be in Long Beach on the 29th. Starts at 8 p.m.
Excellent. So we will
Yeah.
link that down below for sure. So at this point, you are working on editing your special, right?
Yeah, well, actually I'm not editing it. I shouldn't say that. I have someone professionally editing it. I would
Excellent.
never be able to edit this. His name is Sean Cooper. If anybody needs a DP or an editor or a colorist, he is fantastic. And he costs $1 million an hour.
As he
So
should.
if he gives you a price lower than that, it's a deal.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, I should be receiving a like a rough draft of the very first edit by the beginning of next week, I think.
Exciting.
I know, and I haven't watched a single thing yet. I was like, listen, because they invited me to the first editing session, and I went, and like 10 minutes in, I was like, you know what? No. I actually don't want to sit through this. I was like, this is terrible. I hate that.
Yeah.
Because it's like people don't get it. It's not just like a clipping together like clips. You have to read, like you got to listen to like 3 words over and over and like
Yeah. Oh,
and
sure.
figure out like where you want to pull the shots from because we had multicams and then
Yeah.
you got to like make sure the sound is balanced out on all of the different like on the 2 different nights. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to bash my head into a wall. And I was like, you know what? Just I trust you. Just
Yeah.
send me the rough draft first edit. I'm sure I'll only have a few
Yeah.
pointers. I was like,
Yeah.
I trust you guys. Take it away.
But I think that's such an important thing too, is knowing when to like offload work onto someone else that can do a good job with it and focus on what your sweet spot is.
Yes.
Because I think a lot of times a lot of us want to try to do everything and have control of everything, but yeah, I think that's probably a good a good choice there because it is so personal. It'd probably be really hard to. I feel like that'd be really hard to rewatch your own stuff like that over and over and over again. And
It's really hard.
so yeah, to have someone take care of it. But that's coming out soon. So where is it going to be ultimately? Do you have a landing point for it?
That's a good question. See, so many people have asked me this, and I feel like I should have like a better, like, well-formed answer. And every time I'm like,
That's okay.
I'm like, I don't know.
Once we know, we'll make sure to share it. And
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, I'm
we'll
I'm
know where to watch it.
hoping. I really do want to release it on YouTube. I think like YouTube's a fantastic platform that makes so much sense. I also would love to pitch it as a proof
Yeah,
of concept
yeah,
to streaming services.
absolutely.
Or if they wanted to put it up as is, that's totally fine. I just figured I was like, this was low budget. If you wanted me to reshoot it with more money, give me more money,
Yeah,
and then
I
you
love
can
that.
have it on your platform. But I think I don't necessarily have it in my mind that like I'm gonna sell this to Netflix or whatever. That would be fantastic. I'd love to do like a Fleabag, like baby reindeer
Yeah.
type thing. But I think it'd be a good practice to like work up a pitch
Hmm.
and be like, hey, I have this cool thing. Do you want it?
Yeah.
Do you want it?
Yeah, I love that. I'm working on a short film now, and that was kind of our idea too, is to just film scenes to be part of a pitch deck, and so that makes it so much freer because I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm getting to learn every step of the way. So I like that part of it where it's like, well, but if it turns out great, then awesome. But like there's kind of like a safety there, so it's good that there are like different stages to this that you can look forward to.
Yeah. And it's like I have to remember like Shane Gillis posted one of his like I can't remember if it was like 45 minutes or an hour, but it was a show he did. It was like Shane Gillis live in Austin.
Mm.
And he posted that on YouTube and it like blew up and all, like a bunch of clips from it blew up. And then he filmed a special with Netflix and they like put money into it. And like 80% of that special was everything that he did in Austin,
Mm.
which like nobody was mad about.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, because it's hilarious
Yeah.
and
We love
really
seeing our
good.
favorite, jokes and all that.
Yeah, because I was worried. I was like, if I post this on YouTube, I can't ever do it again. But I was like, no.
Yeah. I was just watching like Eliza Schlesinger's documentary about it, and she was like, "Well, just finished the special, so now we start over at zero." And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, making new content and all that. But that's so exciting. So yeah, because I was gonna ask, but like, are you gonna get back out there? And it's like we just talked about that. You're gonna be out there on the 29th, so time to back around. So we'll link, yeah, and then definitely for everyone listening, check out Nina's book. Nina, anything else that you wish we had asked you or that you'd want to share about this amazing journey you've been on?
November 5th through 8th, I'll be in Austin, Texas, doing the Altercation Comedy Festival.
Very cool. We will keep
Yeah.
people abreast of all of your links and events and all that good stuff. Thank you so much for being here. It was really wonderful to get to kind of peek into your process here and learn a bit about it. So inspiring. So grateful for your real, raw, and relatable story that you were sharing, to use some of our classic phrasing here. So as always, I'll
Yes.
link everything down below so you can keep an eye on what Nina's getting up to and find her book and hopefully very soon her special, wherever that ends up. So thank you so much. And we'll catch up with everyone on the next episode of Wholly Unapologetic.
Yay.